welcome to True Health Tuesdays. Tonight, sleep. Who brought the pillow? Only one person. Okay, good. Not a lot of hopes for me. Okay, so when we look at sleep, now you'll notice that sleep goes on every lecture because it's so vital. And it's not just a little vital. I love, you can see how ignorant the medical community is when you read some of these quotes. But what sleep is, it's a naturally occurring cycle. It's a state of mind called by altered consciousness, relative inhibited sensor activity, inhibition of nearly all voluntary muscles, and a reduction of interaction with surroundings. No kidding. I mean, that describes most politicians, most... Okay. The Stanford University Sleep Center, as far as I know, the only reason we need to sleep is that we're really solid is because we get sleepy. You will see how insane that type of comment is. Now, this is the most sleep-deprived community the world's ever seen. You figure in the old days, we actually lived with a cycle of sleep and rest and sleep and rest. But now, there's, Starbucks stores, coffee houses everywhere to keep us going beyond, which is okay in the short term. But what sleep deprivation does, it stimulates the autonomic activity, in fact, the fight or flight. And this is a normal response. So if you're an antelope being chased by a tiger, you want a fast heart rate, you want the blood a little bit thicker because you may get injured. Okay, you want the cholesterol to go up, you want the blood sugar to go up, you want blood supply to the gut shut down. Does that make sense if you're being chased? The problem is, if this is a long term, okay, you're going to be misdiagnosed with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of those, because those things don't exist. It's just they're a normal stress response. Now, if you don't sleep on a regular basis, this builds up, weakens your immune system. You're talking about chronic pain, impairs physical, mental, and performance. That's obvious. Brain shrinkage. So when we look at this, if you're not getting deep, effective sleep, and you're going to see that insomniacs actually spend more time in bed. I'm talking about effective sleep, so you get in there and you're knocked out. A host of diseases, diabetes, cancer. Okay, we're talking Alzheimer's, dementia, stomach ulcers. Because think of this, if you're under that fight or flight activity, because you live your life through the nervous system, if you're under that stress activity, what happens to nerve supply to the gut? It gets shut down. So just sleep alone could help repair irritable bowel syndrome. Does that make sense? Yes. And this is one of the most common risk factors. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, you'll see this all the time. Now, it's a real popular condition in America. Not just the coffee houses around, but when you look at it, they say almost a third of our population has some type of sleep disorders. It gets worse when you're talking about 9 million sleeping prescriptions. But this is a good money. If anyone's seen the commercial with the butterfly, man, I wanted to buy that stuff. It seems so good, I want to have a butterfly and sleep on a cloud. It seemed really, really cool. Except when you look at it, it's kind of foolish because, billions of dollars are being spent on this stuff. But do those sleeping pills make you healthier? That's one of the things. You get deep sleep every night. You get knocked out. Of course, side effects may be sleepwalking, sleep eating, sleep this, sleep that, grogginess. It's nuts. But when you're talking almost $4 billion in sales, it's popular. So now what do the sleep pills do for you? Well, if you do take sleeping pills on a regular basis, you do get a chance to have a 35% increased risk of cancer. No, that's bad. I know, I'm enthusiastic too. Yeah, cancer, baby. No, it doesn't make any sense because why? If you're taking a chemical to sleep, are you getting deep sleep? And then if you look statistically, you're getting 13 minutes, you're getting asleep 13 minutes sooner. And over the whole night, you get about 11 minutes more. But the sleeping pills actually do mess with your memory. So, and I know this sounds like a joke, but it's not. When you read the studies, you forget that you had trouble sleeping because it messes with your short-term memory. I know. It's like, are you serious? We're spending almost $4 billion for pills that get you knocked out 13 minutes earlier and you only sleep about 11 minutes more. and it can also mess with your REM state of sleep, and we'll learn about that tonight. But people who use the sleeping pills actually die earlier, which makes sense, because if you look at all the conditions that develop from not sleeping, if you don't sleep correctly, you're going to develop those conditions. This is a great Daniel Kripke, the dark side of sleepingpills.com. He's got some great information. Now, what kind of drugs can negatively affect sleep? Well, just about every one. We're talking beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, blood pressure drugs, steroids, over-the-counter cold medications. I mean, we're talking almost every type of drug out there is going to interrupt sleep. Now, insomnia. You've heard of this, right? So, you know, you're taking these sleeping pills, you're taking these drugs to get 11 minutes sleep sooner. So what do you do for insomnia? And we're going to go over each little problem with sleep and how the solution is. Now, and I love this, this affects 15% of the population. So you're talking like 30 million people. Now, the people that can't sleep at night die about 2 to 3 times sooner. Now, the typical insomniac stays in bed 14 hours. I know, alone. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going, what the heck are you doing there? You know, you better have a TV or a book. Okay, but when you think of it, how many times has anyone in here ever been that miserable where you roll over, you can't get comfortable, your brain won't shut down, you know what I mean? And you look at the clock and then you roll over again and it's 2 hours later and it's miserable. Okay, so now the causes of insomnia. See, I'm going to show you a trick how to solve it, but you got to fix the cause first. Okay, now stress. And we got 3 stressors: physical, chemical, and emotional stress. When we look at the poor sleep environment, you have to train your sleep environment. It has to be totally dark, and we're going to show you a couple of tricks, but covering the clock radio. You're going to see that throughout the night, your eyes open up a little bit just to check on the safety of your environment. It's actually a real, it's like a natural reflex for the human body to do that. Inconsistent sleep schedule. What's the toughest day of the week for people to get up?
Monday.
Monday morning, yeah. Okay, if anyone wants to see a really good movie, Office Space, it looks like you have a case of the Mondays. Okay, if anybody says that to me, I will kick their ass. Okay, because sometimes I'm not that happy in the morning. Okay, and I don't want to hear that. But you know, Monday is typically the toughest time, because why? You tend to sleep in Sunday or sleep in Saturday. I got to tell you, as weird as it sounds, I get up pretty much at 4 to 4:30 every day because I like the consistency. Now, stimulation before bed and a sedentary lifestyle. If these conditions are solved and then you eliminate the drugs, the body works. Now, here's some tricks to solve insomnia. And not only is this the key for getting deep sleep, or it's also the key for healing. You reduce the stressors. And what kind of stressors do you got? You got physical, chemical, and emotional. So look for the cause of each one. Now, physical stressors, that has to do with the spine, nervous system, work habits, you know, actually getting your nervous system working correctly. The chemical stressors, that's going to be poor diet or drugs. And the emotional stressors, that's reprogramming your brain. I just had a patient today, and I was trying to teach her that emotions are literally chemicals secreted by your brain. And what do you get when someone's been hurting for a lot? They go, yeah, it really is, because you feel trapped underneath these certain type of chemicals. What's unusual is that you have the ability to rewire your brain to produce different chemicals. See, if you're upset or angry or frustrated or joyous, your cells are going to react to that chemical assault on your body. So I walked her through a little exercise and I said, remember the last time, you know, you had baked bread? And I said, think of that big warm slab of baked bread coming out of the oven, and you put that big organic grass-fed butter on it, and it's melted in there, and you can smell it and you bite it, and you can see, you know, because just about everybody here is thinking, yeah, man. Screw the gluten-free diet. I'm digging this. Okay, but then you start thinking, okay, now instantly from not having a joyous experience to having a joyous experience, who did that? She did it. Okay. And then I said, well, what if you were baking the bread and your mom beat you over the head with it when you were 11? You know, nice, good, solid French steel roll. Okay, you would think about break bread and you would have a totally different chemical assault on the body, right? So you have the power inside of your brain to change that chemical assault. So when we say reduce all stressors, look at the physical, chemical, or emotional stress. And the emotional stress is actually in your control. Does that make sense? Yeah, we're going to cover that later on in the month too. Restrict your sleep to about 6 hours a night. You will find that 6 hours of quality sleep a night, you get better, restful, better cell regeneration. Avoid excessive stimulation. Yeah. That means watch something nice before bed on the TV or read something. Exercise regularly. EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, this is a really good way to quiet the overactive mind. Also on your sheet, you're going to see that we put journaling. Journaling is excellent. Reading 15 minutes before bed is phenomenal. Restricting your sleep or going to bed at a set time, typically 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Because since we're on a circadian rhythm cycle, that 10 to 4, and it's tough because it's going to take 5 days to develop the REM state of sleep. But so you may be a little bit tired in the first week of doing this, but if you do that 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. cycle, whether you slept at all or you slept a whole bunch, you're going to, within 5 days, you're going to be achieving that deep state of sleep. And you do that for 21 days, you've absolutely reset and retrained your brain. It seems too simple, but these steps really do work. Now, sleep apnea. How many people have heard of this? Okay, now, how many animal species on the planet choke to death because they fall asleep and they can't breathe? Zero? You're right. Okay, so that would have to be a pretty sick species, right? You don't see like a herd of zebra or water buffalo all of a sudden choking out because they fell asleep. So to just look at this, I mean, the medical idea, okay, is that chronic fatigue, old age, obesity, and snoring are the precursors to sleep apnea, not getting enough oxygen. And that doesn't make any sense. But when you look at it, and this is when oxygen drops to a lower level and you wake up because of the low oxygen, if you knew that the breathing muscle, the diaphragm, is actually innervated from the middle of the neck. So does that mean that perhaps there could be a nervous system impingement there? Absolutely. So you have to look at the cause of it. Now, breathing during sleep, the diaphragmatic breathing, or how your diaphragm works, this is an autonomic nervous system function. I know we talked about not sleep. What does that do? It's a nervous system function. If you're not sleeping, you get that fight or flight. Well, the same thing with breathing. This is the autonomic or automatic nervous system flow. So you have to look at the autonomic. So that's going to be a problem with either the cranial area, the sacral area, the central nervous system. You got to look at the problem. And snoring. It's interesting, but the nerve that supplies the soft palate, and this is also where ear effusions that most people mistake for ear infections, that comes from the second bone in the neck that supplies the soft palate. If that soft palate loses in tone, then you get that. Have you ever done that before? Okay, yeah. I never have. Okay, well, there's ways to solve it, okay? You know, either get earplugs for your sweetheart or sleep on your side. Okay, that'll help. But also getting your neck adjusted to restore the tone of that'll also help. Now, solutions for this, for sleep apnea, it's not getting an attractive CPAP mask. Okay, I know, those are attractive. No, it doesn't make any sense to have a positive airflow and have this machine. Understand that as an animal species, it would be foolish to think that the person is losing the ability to breathe while they sleep. So you have to look for the cause. The cause is going to be either the central nervous system, so they have to get the nerves checked by a chiropractor, either the cardiac and respiratory center, at the base of the brain, the base of the neck, which is where the diaphragm, the phrenic nerve comes out. You got to look at the sacrum, that could be causing it. Now, if you're severely obese, losing just 10% of the weight can solve it too. But also no alcohol, tobacco, especially before bed, or sedatives. Isn't that interesting? Because having a chemically induced sleep actually knocks you out and causes disruption of your normal autonomic function. Elevating your head will help too. But maintaining regular hours of sleep. And you're going to see this through each problem. You're going to see consistently the same activity to solve it. What's frustrating, if somebody does a sleep study, they don't tell you to deal with the stressors and get your nervous system checked, because by God, you don't want to sleep with this plastic thing on your face the rest of your life, right? Now, why is sleep so important? What does it do? Because you got to be motivated to do the changes. Does that make sense? You got to be motivated to get your nervous system checked, to find out what drugs you're taking to solve that. Well, if you have healthy sleep, you're talking wound healing gets better. Have you ever been in the supermarket and you see somebody with bruises everywhere? Yeah, that's aspirin therapy, blood thinners. It's just poor wound healing. Maintains emotional balance. We're talking 1 in 4 women today are taking an anti-anxiety or antidepressant pill. Do you think that they're all sleeping good? 1 in 10 Americans is taking that. So emotional health is vital. It clears the waste from the brain, restores the brain's energy. It's called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Growth hormone. This is what all of the super wealthy people that are in the movie industry, okay, the ones that don't know how dangerous growth hormone is if you're injecting it, man, make your own. Okay, and it's natural. You won't have any negative effects by producing your own growth hormone. How do you do it?
Sleep.
Oh, okay. Memory supports cognitive functions. Oh, now circadian rhythms, and this is really important that you understand that we're an animal species living on the planet, and all it is a standard day and night cycle. Now, in the old days, okay, we used to gauge our sleep and our activity level by the sun. So when the sun would go down, a few hours later, we'd get tired of making the stone tools, and then we'd go to sleep. The sun would start to come up, and we'd kind of like wake up, hear some animal activity, and then we'd go. Well, now, since we have this new artificial light, we can keep going all night long. So that's starting to interrupt our circadian rhythms. And plus two, we have this like primal idea that if we see a light, okay, that means it's more active. So we are stimulated by light. Now, when we look at the stages of sleep, we're going to look at 3 stages of non-REM sleep, then REM sleep. What's interesting is sleep occurs in 90-minute cycles. There's also why when we're adjusting people that are from out of the town or out of the country or out of the state, we see them on a 2-hour cycle because we know the body has 90-minute cycles. And it's called a Circadian sleep cycle, but it happens several times throughout the night. So when you're talking about REM state of sleep, you're going to get about 4 or 5 periods of REM state of sleep. And this is how your body regenerates. Now, I like this chart. It is called a hypnogram. But what we're looking at is REM state of sleep. And there used to be 4 stages. Now, most of the research, they're blending stage 3 and 4. But know that REM has certain stages. But you can look at it on the deep stages of REM sleep. There's always a couple of periods of brief wakening. And you do this to check on your environment. This is why the environment, when you're sleeping, when we talk about preparing the environment, it's got to be totally, totally dark. Okay, even if you got to wear the I Love Lucy shades. Am I the only one that remembers I Love Lucy? I really got to come up with an analogy to this. Okay, my brother. Okay, good. Yeah. So like a mask, I Love Lucy, some of the dark things. Because during the night, your eyeballs kind of go like this just to check on the environment. And if there's any stimulating light aspect, it's going to kick you out of the REM and get you ready to do battle. Now, okay, non-rapid eye movement. Now, there's 3 stages of this. This is about 80% for all sleep. So those 6 hours of sleep that you're getting, it's a process of your body slowing down. And what's interesting, as your body slows down and you begin to deactivate, okay, body temperature, breathing rate, heart rate, everything changes. Now, during this, the brain uses less energy. And actually, this is part of the parasympathetic nervous system. And I should have put up a picture of the spine here, but when we know there's 2 automatic nervous systems, the fight or flight, and that's stimulated by lack of sleep. Okay, that's the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system initiates sleep. That's why it's called the rest, digest, and repair. Now, knowing that that is located in the sacrum and it's located at the base of the neck, what do you think would happen if you're a sedentary lifestyle, office work, having the head forward? You're going to be altering parasympathetic nervous system. This is why we keep saying you got to get the nervous system checked. That's primary, because sleep is that dominant. Now, these are brainwave patterns, and this is one of the patterns that I get into all the time. Have you ever been like you're starting to drift off, and all of a sudden your body jerks? Okay, well, this is non-REM stage 1. And this is when your body's kind of shutting down, but all of a sudden, if you get any type of stimulus, bam, that activity comes up. So your body is just barely hanging in there. Now, this is relaxed wakefulness. That is most politicians. Okay, well, we are going to have an election coming up, okay, to anoint Hillary. Okay, but wait, no, I'm sure there is a competition. Yeah, I know. I don't like anybody running. Okay, so the REM stage 2, when we look at this is about 45 to 50% in most adults, and it's deeper sleep. But the brain waves, you can start to see they have a little bit different pattern to them. And when we look at stage 3, we're getting less. It's about 15 to 20%, okay, in some. And the deeper that you can get, and the faster and more efficient that your brain gets in these states, the better it is. Because you're going to see it's odd to have 80% in one and 20% in another and 30%. You might think Yogi Berra did this. Baseball is 50% mental, 50% physical, and 50% luck. Wait, I don't know if that was Yogi Berra, so I know I'm going to get some comments on YouTube like, you bastard, that was somebody else. Okay, now what's interesting, if this area, it's hard to wake up, but you can see the brainwave patterns, how they're not consistent. When we get to people that have problems in these stages, they're called parasomnias. And this is when it occurs, because you can see that erratic brainwave pattern. If they're stuck in that pattern, you're talking about really bizarre activities. And it generally affects, well, it's common in children now because of the neurotoxins and the damage we're doing to their brain. But this is also a disruption of the autonomic nervous system. Now, the Archives of General Psychiatry, and I love this quote, it's been found through several experiments that low levels of stage 3 sleep are found in about 40 to 50% of acute and chronic schizophrenics. No kidding. Brainwave patterns like this. So if sleep patterns like that can totally disrupt the body, what happens to these people? We're talking sleepwalking, sleep talking. Again, we've got the references for this, sleep sex. Really, honey, did you enjoy it? It's sleep eating, okay, night terrors, and enuresis, bedwetting. This is why we're so effective in treating this. Okay, and we're adjusting kids from 1 to 2 years old to 18 to 20 that has this bedwetting. I mean, it's horrible, particularly when you know that sleep is one of the main patterns. And what do we do to get people out of that? We look at the autonomic nervous system. Now, this is down home. This is the rapid eye movement. This is where the deep sleep is. This is where your brain works. Now, this is also like the dreaming stage, the hallucinations. Now, this occurs about 4 to 5 times a night. Now, newborns spend about 80% of their time in it, and you'll see them like quivering and cute and moving and everything. How many people in here have kids? Okay, when they were first born, did you go in and check and make sure they were breathing, so you didn't kill them? Yeah, for how long? I did it till they were like about 10 or 12. And then I kind of wanted to put the pillow over them, but you go in there and you want to say, well, it's the first time being a parent, but oh good, the kid's still breathing. Okay. So now what's interesting, the on-off switch. And there's certain things that kick in REM state of sleep and certain things that kick it off. Because we want to get into that REM sleep about 4 to 5 cycles. Now, what's interesting, there's abundance of acetylcholine. I should have brought this up, but there are several antihistamines that are acetylcholine interrupters. And that's one of the reasons that if you're taking a lot of antihistamines, it decreases it. But also, monoamine neurotransmitters, things that'll shut the REMs off, like histamines. So does that mean that if we're giving a number of vaccines to somebody causing a histamine response or a Th2 inflammatory response, decrease serotonin? So what about irritable bowel syndrome? You know, Crohn's disease. Are those people going to have good REM state of sleep or poor? Can you see how vital it is? So sleep is important, but we got to get the nervous system working right. Now, cortisol. This is one of the best anti-inflammatory stress hormones out there. And it goes up and down during the day. The problem is, if it's at its lowest level at midnight to 4, and that's when you're supposed to be sleeping. But if you have anything that increases cortisol, it's gonna mess up with your sleep. And in fact, the factors that increase cortisol levels: infections, caffeine, sleep deprivation, calorie restriction, physical, chemical, or emotional stress. These are all a normal physiologic response to cortisol. That's why when we're talking about all aspects that'll interrupt sleep, you got to deal with the physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Does that make sense? So it's not a sleeping pill that's the answer. Now, the things that help reduce cortisol, you're looking at omega-3s, magnesium supplements, of course, appropriate sleep, and reducing stressors. It's interesting, laughing. This is one of the most important neurologic chemical aspects. When we're talking about changing your perception of the environment, laughter actually produces an emotion. And emotions are how cells respond to the environment. And the emotions are those chemicals that cause the cells to stimulate. Isn't that kind of neat? Mm-hmm. I know, I actually like it. I'm not known to laugh, but I'll try it in the future. Okay, so when you look at it, melatonin, now this is phenomenal, but it doesn't cause sleepiness. What it does, it's used to almost reset the circadian rhythm clock. And of course, melatonin production decreases with age, so the older we get, and I just had a birthday, okay, you have to practice sleep and you'll still be able to maintain it. Now, blue light has the strongest effect on suppressing melatonin. Now, blue light, you might think, well, what is that? We're looking at computers, we're looking at everything. TVs. What can increase melatonin? Cherries, bananas, fruits, grapes, olives. Now, wine and beer are interesting. They're going to increase melatonin, but if you have alcohol right before bed, it's going to disrupt your sleep. Okay, so it's you got to kind of like blow that down on the list. Blue light, and this is why you can't be watching TV right before bed or doing computers right before bed. The blue light, it starts to negatively affect you after sunset. In fact, it disrupts the circadian rhythm during the evening. This is why when we look at for the solutions for blue light is red light. Now, has anyone ever sailed a boat at night? Okay, it's kind of cool because all you got, you're sailing out of dark into dark. You don't have headlights when you're sailing, but you have a little red light on a compass. And the red light, I always thought that it was better for night vision, and I think it is too, but it also helps, produce melatonin. I just thought it was cool. Well, it is, it's like another advantage. Okay, when we look at it, red light has the least amount of power to shift their circadian rhythms. So this way that it's not going to mess with the melatonin. Because when you're sailing at night, you can only sail at 4-hour shifts and then you sleep 4 hours. Do you know how hard it is to work a sailing reference in a sleep talk? Exposure to sunlight. And now these bulbs in here are actually full spectrum lights. And this also helps melatonin. So exposure to sunlight at least 30 minutes a day, which is tough if you're from Canada. Okay, but you can have the full spectrum light bulbs and still get it for you. And I love this. Harvard researcher, a mere 8 lux of light, a level brightness exceeded by most table lamps, about twice that of a nightlight, has an effect on sleep. So when somebody says, oh, I gotta have that nightlight, I gotta have that nightlight, then get a red nightlight, put a sheet over it, okay, and practice. Get the I Love Lucy shades, because the more stimulus that you have, the more it's gonna mess up your sleep. And if you're going to sleep already panicked, it's not gonna work. And I love the Harvard Medical School. Light at night throws the body's biological clocks, circadian rhythms, completely out of whack. Research shows that it may contribute to the causation of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, just not sleeping correctly. Now, here's some of the do's and don'ts, and you'll see a lot of these on our handout, and there's also a lot of quick tricks too about a lot of the things that we're talking about, because sleeping is a skill. No stressful activities before bed. Stimulants, dark chocolate, alcohol, spicy foods, blue lights, no fluids a couple hours before bed, grains and sugars, and no work 2 to 3 hours worth of bed. This is one that I don't do a lot, and I need to do more of it, because I tend to work a lot. Am I the only one that works right up and then, oh damn, I should go to bed? Okay, thank you. Good. Yeah, but it's fun, isn't it? It's not like really bad. Good. I'm looking for validation for my psychotic lifestyle. Okay, and I just have it. Thank you. Good. Okay. And for sure, reduce and eliminate medications. I mean, for God's sake, in this planet, we're supposed to alter our physiology with a chemical? That just doesn't make any sense. Now, things you can do. You got to get the nervous system checked. I mean, that's primary. If you're in a stressful state, physical, chemical, or emotional stress, that's going to destroy it. Keep a regular, consistent sleep schedule. So if you're going to bed and you got to get up at 6 or 7 or 5 or 4 in the morning, do that on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do it on the days off, and you'll see you're going to get a lot more done. Establish a routine. Improve your sleep environment. Practice sleep like you'd practice tennis. Okay, it works. You know, it's a skill you got to develop. Exercise regularly. Keep the room temperature cool. EMFs, a lot of people are sensitive to that, so you got to look for it. Reserve your bed for sleeping. Sorry, dear. Eat a high-protein snack. You know, I mean, when you look at this, a high-protein snack could be cauliflower, okay? Because that's like 30% protein. It's phenomenal. Okay, I'll fry up some cauliflower for you in coconut oil. You'll be going, oh my God. Okay. Hot bath before bed. This works so good. When we've had people that are so stressed out on so many medications, particularly kids, hot bath, little lavender oil. White noise, journal, fantastically important. And read, but read something in a book. And it quiets the mind. So can you see, when we talk about these 5 aspects every time, is this the same thing that you need to reverse cancer?
Yes.
Yeah, what about Parkinson's? Yeah, what about irritable bowel syndrome? Yeah. You cannot get health unless you do these 5. You live your life through your nervous system. You got to do it. Regular exercise. You don't need to adjust 150 people a day. Walk 30 minutes. Okay, proper nutrition. Okay, if man makes it, you don't eat it. And sufficient rest. Can you see how vital this is? And it's a skill. If anybody says nobody in my family sleeps correctly, it's hereditary, fine, you're the last of your generation, you're not going to survive. Your genes shouldn't be passed on. No, it's not hereditary. For God's sake, to get to this state, your family had to sleep. Okay, you can fix it. And then prayer and meditation. This is absolutely vital to maintain that connection. Does that make sense? Okay, now, all of this will be available on Owner's Guide. You know, check it out for free for 7 days. If you're a patient, even if you're a patient from Indiana, Canada, Texas, Canada, Chicago, yeah, anywhere, you still get it for free. Okay, now, we have got references and references and references and references. Isn't that cool? Okay, so when people say, well, where's your references? It's there. Okay, no. Now, any questions?
How high the pillow should be?
Oh, how high the pillow? It kind of depends, and this is a tough one. What the research, how high the pillow should be, the research says 4 to 6 inches, but it really depends on the curve of your neck. Let's say you have a reverse curve, you may require a higher pillow. Let's say you have, normal guy shoulders, okay, you may require a higher pillow. And so it really depends. And also, as we work on people, we'll see people with like reverse curves or forward head carriage or like this. As we reshape their spine, they're going to have to change their pillow. One of the best, most effective ones that I found is a buckwheat pillow. And I know it sounds weird, but it's simple, easy, it lasts, it's very effective.
On what side is the easiest, the best to sleep?
Oh, this one we hear all the time. What's the best position? My chiropractor said don't sleep on my stomach. Yeah, that's completely wrong. Okay, if you have beautifully straight spine, beautiful curves, everything's perfect, your pelvis is stable, you'll find sleeping on your back and side comfortable. If you're like most people, okay, you're going to find a comfortable sleeping position. It could be anything. But as you get your nervous system working right, you're going to find different sleeping positions comfortable. And there's a big stink out there now on baby sleeping positions because we're injecting so many neurotoxins in the kids and we're having them with so many traumas coming out because we're giving them the mom cow hormones like Pitocin, and then before that blood-brain barriers formed, we're injecting a lot of neurotoxins, so we're seeing a huge rise in sudden infant death. And instead of blaming it on the neurologic and chemical assault on the kid, they say, oh man, their moms are putting kids to sleep on their tummies. And they're blaming the mom. And that's criminal. That's just flat out criminal. No human body has ever been that fragile that if you sleep the kid on his stomach, they're going to choke to death. And on the side or back, they're okay. There's no animal species like that. It's the chemical and neurotoxins that are being assaulted. Yes, ma'am.
How do you know if you're getting your proper REM sleep?
And this is the cool part. If you wake up refreshed, if you actually feel good when you wake up. Now for me it takes like a couple of minutes because because when you wake up, if you're in that deep REM state of sleep, you have to slowly get those brain waves coming back up. So you might feel a little groggy, a little bit more groggy, a little bit more groggy. Move around, get a little light stimulus. Okay, get some motion stimulus. And then if you start to feel, hey, I feel kind of good. Okay, and you're ready to take on the day. That's a normal response to sleep. It's kind of like you're going to feel tired and uncomfortable if you ate something that's not good for you. Yeah, wake and refreshed. Yes, sir. Okay, what if you set an alarm at 8 o'clock, because I'm just saying it so everybody else can hear, and you wake up, but then you think you might drift off back to sleep, so you set another one at 9, because the first one is, yeah, you should get up, but the next one, holy shit, you really got to get up. Okay, yeah. I do that. Okay, next. No, I do it all the time, because honestly, the alarm goes off at 4, and it's like, oh my God. Okay, and I hit the alarm, and it's a 5-minute snooze. And while it's going off, I'm starting to think about my day. Think of what I got to accomplish, think of everything else, and then the thing goes off again, and I'll hit it one more time, so at 4:10 I get up. Because then I know it's about 12 minutes to shower. I get in my car at 4:30, I'm here at 4:45, and then, I can go. Yeah, so I got it timed. I hit that baby twice. Okay. Sorry, dear. At 4 o'clock in the morning, that sucker goes off twice. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what about the people that get up at night to go to the bathroom?
Get up at night and go to the bathroom. That's an autonomic dysfunction. Because once you get the bladder working correctly, the pelvis stabilized, and the pelvis being unstable, this is a lot of sedentary lifestyles. Because that's going to cause the pelvis to expand and the muscles underneath that to not be in a healthy contractible state. And this is also where enuresis comes from that interruption or that non-REM state sleep. And so it can be from not getting into the REM state of sleep in an efficient manner or an unstable pelvis. Isn't that interesting? So it can be solved. Get the nervous system of the pelvis corrected, watch drinking anything 2 hours before bed, do Kegel exercises, and check out our pelvic health video. Yes, sir.
Does not drinking water before going to bed would solve that problem?
Well, kind of. Not drinking water before may help it a little bit, but you got to look at really every other aspect too.
Okay.
Yeah, it may be that you're stuck in the non-REM cycles.
Okay. And on the flyer on how to beat fatigue, the point 4 and 5, you said move the spine. Is that any different than jogging or walking?
Moving the spine could be anything, but the more stimulus, the more movement you get to that spine, the brain is like a battery, and it gets its charge from the normal position of motion of the vertebrae. So the more you move that body, the more stimulus up to the brain. So if you're moving a whole bunch, that's going to overstimulate it. But that's also a cool trick to make kids get deep sleep. If you ever have a fussy child, if you put them in the car seat, what happens? Man, they're out like you beat them with a club, you know, just like a light, right? Okay, and that's because they're in there, and all of a sudden, you know, they got all this stimulus, light, sound, vibration. It's like, holy moly, that's it, I'm going, Mom. Okay, and they're out. So you can do the same thing, and I'll teach new parents this, where you hold their head, support their neck, and gently rock them so the butt goes higher than the head. And this stimulates the semicircular canals in the brain to get a massive stimulus, and it actually helps their intellectual abilities later on, but it also gives the parents a nice quiet night. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Odd question. What do I do if my most comfortable sleep position misaligns my neck?
What if my most comfortable sleep position misaligns the neck? It's impossible, it won't. Because when you look at it, what's a normal neck? If a normal neck is straight and 45-degree curve, you're not going to find this position comfortable. So you're going to find an abnormal position comfortable if you have a pathology inside of the neck. Your sleep patterns will not screw it up. Okay, but if there is some kind of pathology, like say a loss of curve, forward head carriage, structural deviation, you're not going to find sleeping on your back or side comfortable with this type of presentation. What's cool is, as your body goes back and you get the curve back and you regenerate the disc and you get a more normal position, you're going to find totally different sleep positions more comfortable. It's really exciting, because you can't mess it up. And I know a lot of chiropractors have probably told you, oh, you slept that way, that's why it's not holding. Oh my gosh, I'm going to show you how to go like that. If somebody tells you that, I want you to slap them really hard. You mess up their neck, no problem, I'll fix it. Okay? Because they should learn more about how the body works. Okay? I mean, your body is designed to be healthy. If we do an adjustment, and that whole term where it's not holding is so ridiculous. The closer to normal you get it, the more it wants to stay. Okay, and that's a fact. So you can't screw up sleeping. Go, girl. Yes, ma'am.
In that same vein, I was told never to read in bed because you crank your head up a certain way, and you know it's not good for your neck.
Yeah, you can mess it up, like the texture neck, the computer neck, everything else. Absolutely, you can mess it up. Violin neck, the flute neck. Yeah. You can mess it up, but also when you do that, okay, if you do certain exercises like ligamentous exercises, you can correct the damage of doing that. So it's anybody that's working on a computer or a cell phone or a texter. Once you realize that that's an abnormal position to be in, you can do some ligamentous exercises to correct that damage. And then if you have a normal curve, normal position, it's going to be just fine. Yes, sir.
How long does it normally take you to realign somebody?
How long does it take to realign somebody? It totally depends on the stage of arthritis. Typically, if it's stage 1 and they're coming in where we're doing 3 adjustments a day, you're looking at about a week. If it's stage 2 or stage 3, we'll do post x-rays because we can get about 30 adjustments in that time frame, and it'd be about 2.5, 3 weeks. If it's stage 3, you're looking at about 4 weeks, where you're going to start to see it change in structure. Yeah, because I never ask how you're feeling. But by doing a post x-ray, and you have an objective analysis, because then you know what's going on. I mean, people feel better a lot quicker than that, but it's nice to know. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes says guessing is bad for the logic factor. Yes?
Yeah, what is your thought on all these different beds that are out there?
Yeah. All the different beds, it's tough because larger frame people are supposed to generally need a firmer mattress. Smaller frame people are generally supposed to need a softer mattress. You're generally supposed to have a little bit of a pillow top so that it can have some support. Some people don't need anything, you know. Some people sleep on mats. It's really going to be individual and based on how your structure is. Yeah, I mean, I can sleep on a rock and I'm comfortable. So, you know, yeah, it totally depends. Yes, ma'am.
I know you said not to, just to use the bed for sleeping. Is that right? I mean, just.
Yeah,
What,
only use the bed for sleep and,
yeah. Well, see, that's where I like to read. I
yeah.
like to read in bed, and is that bad to read? Because I don't like to sit up. That starts to bother my back. And
Well, the big thing, and this is, if you're an insomniac, I wouldn't recommend it. If you've adapted to this, it'll be okay. But remember, reading, you've just had a massive bright light. Once you turn that light off, you're still under the influence of that light. So you're going to want to turn the light out, get up, walk around a bit, get kind of like, you know, settled down. And then you'll be able to go in there and achieve sleep. It's hard to be underneath that light influence, that stimulus. I mean, even if you're reading the book of Numbers out of the Bible, which, you know, Ezra begat Jelly, begat this, begat, you know, that's really boring stuff. But you may, you know, it may still be enough stimulus to keep you away that, you know, all this begatting, and I'm only supposed to sleep here. Yeah, yes, sir.
When naps are more than 20 minutes, what does that mean?
It means you're getting more sleep during the day and you're not fatiguing your brain out at the night. And you really need to be tired at night to achieve deep sleep. That's why you're exercising and moving during the day. Okay? Yes, sir.
I have one quick question. What do you do when it comes to get up in the morning and you don't want to get up in the morning?
If you what
You're working during the day,
mm-hmm.
and then at night you still want to keep working.
Okay, yep. That's what do you want to do if you want to get up in the morning but you can't, you just don't want to get up in the morning? Okay, that's inconsistent sleep patterns. It means you're not preparing yourself at sleep, you're not getting REM state of sleep, and you're going to be one of those people that are in bed for 14 hours and you still wake up tired. Okay? So everyone's going to have deep sleep tonight. And next week, we're talking about prostates.
Yay!
How come only the ladies said yeah? Okay, you know? Okay, yeah, you're involved. It's okay. Okay. Prostates next week. Thank you very much.